What if I told you there was a man who never made a mistake? Not once, not ever. No regrets, no failures, no wrong choices. Sounds like a perfect life, doesn't it? But here's the truth no one tells you. He didn't make mistakes because he never truly chose anything at all. And by the time he understood it, there was nothing left to choose. This is the story of the man who never made a mistake. In the village, he was not hard to recognize. Not because he looked different from the others, but because he never did anything wrong. His name was Adrian, and over time, without anyone really deciding it, people had started saying the same thing. If you want to make the right choice, ask him. Adrian never raised his voice. He never made rushed decisions. He never put himself in risky situations. And most of all, he never made mistakes. Sarah, the village baker, saw him pass by every morning, always at the same hour, always with the same pace. He's reliable, she would say. He's not like the others. Thomas the blacksmith once said in front of everyone, Adrian never gets himself into trouble. He always knows when to stop. And everyone agreed. Because it was true. Adrian always knew when to stop. But no one ever asked what happened after. Because Adrian didn't stop to choose. He stopped to avoid choosing. The difference was subtle. Almost invisible, but real. Emma watched him often, not the way others did, not with admiration, with attention. There was something about him that didn't make sense. It wasn't fear, it wasn't insecurity, it was absence, as if he was always there, but never truly present. One evening, as the sun slowly sank behind the houses, Emma walked up to him. Adrian was standing near the square, doing nothing, as he often did. "Are you waiting for someone?" she asked. Adrian shook his head slightly. "No." "Then why are you here?" He thought about it. Not too long, just enough to not seem impulsive. "I don't know." Emma looked at him in silence. Then she said something no one had ever said to Adrian. "You never make mistakes, because you never do anything that could truly go wrong." Silence. Adrian did not answer, not because he didn't have an answer, but because every answer would have been a choice, and choices bring consequences, and consequences can become mistakes, and mistakes, Adrian had avoided them his entire life. That night, for the first time in a long while, he stayed awake longer than usual. Not because he was restless, but because something inside him had not gone quiet. A thought, simple, dangerous. And while the village slept, Adrian realized something. He had never made a mistake, but he could not remember the last time he had truly chosen anything. The days in the village moved the same way they always had. The same streets, the same faces, the same routines. And Adrian moved through all of it with a precision that was almost invisible. Not too fast, not too slow, always in the right place, always at the right time, always without leaving a trace. One morning as he passed by the bakery, Sarah handed him a piece of warm bread. "On the house," she said with a smile. Adrian took it. "Thank you. You see," she continued, turning to a woman beside her, "he's always polite, always proper." Adrian gave a small nod. Then he walked away, not because he was in a hurry, but because staying would have required something more. Later that day, passing by the blacksmith shop, Thomas called out to him. "Adrian." He stopped. "I'm looking for someone to help me. It's not difficult work, but it requires consistency." Adrian listened. He looked at the tools, the fire, the glowing metal. Real work, a real choice. "I'll think about it," he said. Thomas smiled. "Of course, you always think things through." Adrian nodded and kept walking. He never came back. That afternoon, in the village square, he noticed a man he had never seen before. He was sitting on a wooden crate. His clothes were worn, his eyes alive, too alive. He was speaking to a small group of people. They were laughing, not at him, but because of what he was saying. Adrian stepped closer. The man noticed him immediately. "You," he said, pointing at Adrian. "You're the perfect one, right?" Some people laughed. Adrian said nothing. "Victor," the man said, placing a hand on his chest. "I lost everything last night. Cards, money, everything." He stood up, walked closer to Adrian. "But at least I played." He looked him straight in the eyes. "Has that ever happened to you?" Adrian didn't understand at first. "What? Losing everything?" Adrian shook his head. Victor smiled. "Too bad." And he walked away. The people around them returned to their conversations, but Adrian remained there, still. That sentence was not loud, but it stayed. Later, walking toward the edge of the village, he saw a woman sitting on a low stone wall. She was looking into the distance. She didn't seem sad, she seemed emptied. Adrian slowed down. "Are you all right?" he asked. The woman looked at him. "That depends," she said. "On what?" "On what you mean by all right." "Lily," she said. "Adrian." He sat beside her, not too close, not too far. "I lost someone," Lily said. Adrian didn't respond. He waited. "It wasn't perfect," she continued. "We made a lot of mistakes. But it was real." She looked at him. "Have you ever had something real?" The question stayed in the air. Adrian lowered his gaze. He thought. Not too long, just enough to not seem impulsive. "I don't know." Lily gave a small smile. "That's already an answer." The sun was beginning to set. Shadows stretched across the ground, and for a moment, Adrian felt something. Not strong, not clear, but present, as if something was trying to surface. He stood up. "I should go," he said. Lily nodded. "Of course." She didn't stop him. No one ever did. That evening, as he walked back toward the center of the village, he saw an old man sitting in front of a house, still, his gaze fixed ahead, but not empty, filled with something that had stayed too long. Adrian stopped. The man spoke without looking at him. "You never make mistakes, do you?" Adrian stayed silent. "I can tell," the man continued. "You walk lightly, like someone who carries nothing. But do you know the problem?" Adrian didn't answer. "When you carry nothing, you also have nothing to leave behind." "My name is Noah," the old man said. Adrian sat beside him. For a moment, he said nothing. Then he asked, "Did you make mistakes?" Noah gave a small smile. "Not enough. I did everything the right way, always." He looked ahead. "And now?" Adrian waited. "I have no regrets," Noah said. Then he added, more quietly, "But I don't have any memories that truly matter." The wind passed through the village, and for the first time, Adrian did not feel comfortable in the silence. He stood up slowly, looked at Noah, then at the road ahead, and, as always, he did what he had always done. He kept walking. But that night, each step felt slightly heavier. In the days that followed, Adrian continued doing what he had always done. He walked. He listened. He answered just enough. Nothing more, nothing less. But something was no longer the same. The words he had heard did not leave him. Victor, Lily, Noah. They stayed, quiet, but present. One morning, as he passed by the bakery, Sarah smiled at him as always. "Good morning, Adrian." He returned it. "Good morning." "I was thinking," she continued. "You're lucky, you know. I never see you in trouble." Adrian nodded. Yes. He was never in trouble. He had no problems. He had no mistakes. But as he walked away, a question began to form. If you have no problems, do you really have anything? He ignored it, as he always had. That afternoon, Emma found him. He was in the same place as always, near the square, still. "Adrian," she said. He turned. There was something different in her eyes. Not anger. Decision. "I need to tell you something." Adrian gave a small nod. Emma took a slow breath. "I'm leaving." The words fell lightly, but the weight came right after. "Where?" Adrian asked. "I don't know yet." "But not here." Adrian looked at her, not surprised, not really, as if part of him had always known. "Why?" Emma looked straight at him, without hesitation. "Because nothing happens here. And you?" She stopped for a moment, then said, "You are the proof." Adrian did not respond, not immediately. "You never make mistakes," she continued, "but you never choose." She took a step closer. "You lose nothing because you never truly hold on to anything." The words were simple, but precise. They cut. "And I," she said, lowering her gaze for a moment, "don't want to be something you never choose." Adrian felt something move inside him, stronger than before, clearer. For the first time, he couldn't ignore it right away. "I could," he began. He stopped. Emma looked at him, waiting, not for a perfect answer, for a choice. "I could think about it," Adrian said, and in that moment, everything ended. Emma closed her eyes, just for a second. Then she gave a small smile, not sad, aware. "There," she said softly, "that's the problem." She took a step back. "You never lose anything because you let everything go before it ever becomes real." She turned, and this time she didn't stop. She didn't wait. She left. Adrian remained there, still, as always, but he was no longer the same. The silence around him was no longer comfortable. It was heavy. Emma's words stayed. Not like the others. These did not fade. That night, walking without direction, Adrian tried to do something he had never truly done. Decide. He thought about Emma, about staying, about following her, about changing. Too many possibilities, too many consequences, too many things that could go wrong. His steps slowed, then stopped. His breathing grew heavier. For a moment, it felt possible to choose. Then, his mind did what it had always done. It searched for the safest path, the one without risk, the one without mistakes. Adrian took a step, then another, and without realizing it, he was already turning back. Not toward Emma, not toward anything, toward what he knew best, the middle, the neutral ground, the safe place. Night fell over the village, and Adrian kept walking, as always. But this time, he was not avoiding a mistake. He was avoiding a life. Time passed. Not suddenly, not with anything obvious. It passed, the way things do when they are never truly lived. Quietly, steadily, unnoticed. The village changed. Houses were repaired. Roads were fixed. New people arrived. Others left. Sarah kept baking bread every morning. Thomas still worked the iron, though his movements had grown slower. Victor was never seen again. Some said he lost everything. Others, that he finally found something. Lily was no longer sitting on that wall. She had left. No one knew where. And Emma never came back. But Adrian was still there. Same steps, same calm, same life. He had made no mistakes. He had lost nothing. He had risked nothing. And because of that, he had built nothing. Years passed. His face changed. Lines grew deeper. His steps slower. But inside, there was little to remember. One day, as he walked as he always did, he stopped in front of a house he had never truly noticed. Or maybe he had never chosen to notice it. Sitting outside, on an old wooden chair, was an old man. Still, his gaze fixed ahead, as if waiting for something that would never come. Adrian walked closer. The man spoke without looking at him. "So, you stayed." Adrian stopped. That voice felt familiar. He sat beside him. "Do I know you?" The old man gave a faint smile. "More than you think." Silence. Adrian looked at him more carefully. The hands, the eyes, the way he sat. And suddenly, he understood. Noah. Only further ahead in time. Or maybe not changed at all. "How did it go?" Adrian asked. Noah did not answer right away. He remained still. Then he said, "I never made a mistake." "And you?" Adrian lowered his gaze. The words came slowly. "Neither did I." The wind moved through the village. The same streets, the same sounds. Everything familiar, and yet different. "Then tell me," Noah said quietly, "what did you do?" Adrian did not answer right away. He thought, he searched. Memories, choices, moments, something worth saying. But the more he searched, the more he found. Nothing. Days that looked the same, decisions avoided, chances left behind, people never truly held on to. His breathing grew slower, then heavier, and for the first time, Adrian said something without trying to make it perfect. "I don't know." Noah nodded slowly. I know. A long pause. Then he added, That's the price. Adrian looked up. The price of what? Noah turned slightly toward him. The price of never being wrong. Adrian felt it. Not faint, not unclear, sharp, direct. Everything he had avoided was there, all at once, not as possibilities, as absence. Emma, the words never said, the choices never made, the lives never lived, all of it for the sake of avoiding mistakes. Adrian closed his eyes, but this time he could not walk away. There was no more time. When he opened them again, the road in front of him was the same, but he was not. He took a slow breath, looked at Noah, then ahead, and for the first time, he did not look for the perfect choice, because he understood something. Too late. He had never made a mistake, because he had never lived enough to make one. The sun began to set. Shadows stretched across the village, and Adrian remained there, still, not to avoid, but because there was nothing left to choose, only something left to understand. And as the day slowly faded, a simple truth settled inside him. It is not mistakes that ruin a life. It is the absence of choices. And sometimes, the most dangerous thing you can do is to never be wrong. We spend so much time trying not to fail, trying not to choose the wrong path, trying not to make mistakes. But in doing so, we slowly begin to avoid life itself. Because every real moment, every connection, every meaningful choice comes with risk. There is no life without mistakes, only a life without depth. And in the end, it's not the things we did wrong that stay with us. It's the things we never did at all. So maybe the goal was never to be perfect. Maybe it was simply to be present enough to choose.